Hi, my name is Summer Brown. I am a third grade ELA teacher at Louisa East Elementary School, located in the Lawrence County School District. I am a National Board Certified teacher in the content area of literacy. Today, I'm going to share with you about the action research I conducted on the project titled Reading is Epic. With the money I received from this project, I purchased a charging cart for a class set of Chromebooks, and I also purchased a class set of headphones. I wanted to be able to incorporate the online reading resource Epic in a station to engage my students as independent readers during my reading classes. I wanted to make sure that I was able to implement this station consistently and with fidelity. So I knew I needed something that would keep all of my Chromebooks charged. And I also knew I needed headphones because Epic has audiobooks and read to me options. These two items were extremely important for me to be able to implement this research with fidelity. Epic has access to over 35,000 books. This includes multiple genres, award-winning children's literature, comic books, graphic novels, and like I mentioned before, audiobooks and read to me options for those that are struggling or reluctant readers. I began to notice that students that were not in my homeroom were not achieving their accelerated reader goals set by the school at the end of the year like my homeroom was. I was seeing high success rates with my homeroom students. For example, during the 2018-2019 school year, 92% of my students in my homeroom were able to achieve the 50-point goal with 85% accuracy, while students not in my homeroom that I teach only had 54% achieve that goal. So I realized this was an issue and I need to figure out how do I engage those students not in my homeroom in that extra minute, extra 20 minutes of reading, of independent reading time that my homeroom students were getting during homeroom. So to be able to implement this extra 20 minutes of reading and also so it would be provided to students that are not in my homeroom, I decided to structure my reading block into a 30-minute whole group lesson, and then the remaining 60 minutes would be used in workstation rotations. These rotations would be 20 minutes each, and we would rotate 2 to 3 times per day based on the time we had. And two of these stations, I was actually able to utilize the headphones in, which was my MobiMax and Head Sprout station, and most importantly, my reading workstation, Epic, where students were able to engage in that extra 20 minutes of independent reading time. This impacted my students greatly. I was able to see some really great things come out of implementing this workstation. Through Renaissance Place Accelerated Reader, I collected data up until March 13th. That was the last day we met in person. By March 13th, 55% of my homeroom students had already met their end-of-year goal of at least 50 points with 85% accuracy. We have 2 months of school left, and 55% of those students have already met those goals. When looking at my non-homeroom students, 29% of them had at least 50 points with 85% accuracy. So I decided to dig a little deeper, and by March 13th, students should have around 30 to 36 points so they could be on target for meeting the end of the year goal. When I looked at that data, I saw that 75% of both groups had already met or are within meeting that goal. So I already knew that the implementation of this workstation was giving my non-homeroom students that extra 20 minutes of reading time they needed. Another exciting piece of data I found was that 62% of my students on March 13th had more AR points than they did by the end of the school year last year. I also was able to discover through EPIC that my students had explored almost 7,000 different books and had a combined reading time of 833 hours. Through Renaissance Place Star, I was able to track some reading achievement. Unfortunately, we were unable to take our STAR test for the third 9 weeks, so I only have the data from the first 9 weeks without EPIC and the second 9 weeks, which had been implemented for about a month, and I did see a slight increase in reading achievement. 42% were proficient and distinguished during the first 9 weeks, and then that jumped to 50% the second 9 weeks. Through my teacher observation, through observing my students, I learned that an overall love for reading increased for my reluctant readers. They started to discover books, genres, and series that they loved. And the best part is they wanted to tell other people about it. Students began suggesting books for their peers to read. Students who did not like to read were now telling other students what books they should check out. During my planning and during their activities, some would like to ask if they could stay and do EPIC. Some kids wanted to miss their activity so they could read. Also, I observed that their reading, their stamina in reading increased and their comprehension began to improve, which was helping them perform better on their common assessments. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to my action research that was conducted on my project titled Reading is Epic. I can't wait to implement this again in the upcoming school years.